Hello, and thank you for taking part in this digital drop in with Google and Parent Zone. My name's Chelsea, and we've got our online safety expert Tim in the chat box too. Now, we'd love for you to share your name and say hello, maybe tell us where you're tuning in from today. So please do introduce yourselves in the chat box. Now, Tim and I are part of a team in charge of Be Internet Legends. Now, this is a program designed by Google and Parent Zone to help 7 to 11-year-olds become savvier, safer, and more confident online. Now, over the last few weeks, we've been asking parents what topics they'd like us to cover in these different digital drop ins, and cyberbullying was one of the top answers. So, that is what we're going to focus on today. Now, this chat is designed for all families. So perhaps you're just finding out a little bit more about bullying and the approaches that are out there to prevent it. But we're also going to share some practical advice if you are worried. We're going to take a 360-degree look at bullying and think about the ways in which Be Internet Legends can help you support your child and what we're teaching children about it. Now, if you do have an immediate problem with bullying and you do need some specific help or support, please do send us an email at legends@parentzone.org.uk. So that's legends@parentzone.org.uk, and somebody will get back to you as soon as they can. Now, we want the next 20 minutes to be as useful and as practical as we can possibly make them. And we know that some of the best ideas and top tips are going to come from you, sharing your thoughts and advice parent to parent. So if you have got any words of wisdom or you do have any questions, please do pop them in that chat box. Tim is there waiting, and I'll keep glancing down. Now, as I say that, my chat box has just disappeared, so let me just bear with me 1 second. Let me bring that back up. There we go. Sorry about that. Because what we want to do in today's session is we want to make sure that everybody leaves this session with one or two things that can help them deal with this really difficult subject. Now, we've had some hellos there. Let me have a look in the chat box. We've got hello to Grace. Fantastic. Any top tips, Grace, please do pop them in that chat box. Any questions as well? Pop them in the chat. Now, before we go any further, I just want to check that everybody can see me okay. Now, if I do look a little bit blurry, I recommend refreshing the page on your tablet or computer, or adjusting the settings by clicking on the little cog in the bottom right and selecting quality. And don't worry about missing anything, because you can always watch this back later, or you can send it to any of your friends as well if you think they'd find it interesting. Now, like I say, Tim and I are part of a team that's been teaching an internet safety programme called Be Internet Legends in schools across the UK for about 4 years now. Some of you might have heard about it from your children, or perhaps you attended another one of our digital drop-ins. Now, we deliver really fun interactive assemblies like this, and then teachers follow up in the classroom with lessons that are part of a full curriculum. Now, throughout the pandemic, we've been supporting children and teachers and families from afar using the power of tech. Now, Be Internet Legends teaches children 5 really important safety pillars. Now, these are a mix of skills and behaviours that cover the most important things that children need to remember whenever they go online. Now, that includes being sharp, being alert, being secure, being kind, and being brave. Now, if you do want to find out more about those 5 pillars, do check out Google's parent page. Now, Tim's going to pop a link in the chat box as I speak, and Tim has also popped a link in there for our teaching resource. So if that might be useful for you, do have a look at it and check it out. Fab. Yeah, so that's a teaching resource there, so have a look at it if you want to. Now, we also run sessions that explain the whole of Be Internet Legends, and we'd absolutely love for you to join us for one of those. Now, you can find out when they're happening on the Parent Zone website, and Tim will pop a link for the timetable in the chat box as well, so you can check those dates out. And again, feel free to share that timetable with anybody who you think this session would be useful for. Now, the programme does cover a lot more than cyberbullying, but that is what we're going to concentrate on today. Now, I'm going to explain what we teach children about bullying so you can apply the same approaches at home if you decide that would be useful. And this approach isn't just appropriate for a child who is experiencing bullying, although we do have some help if that is the case. It's really about making sure children don't experience it. Now, there are 3 pillars that are really important when we're thinking about cyberbullying. Now, these are secure, kind, and brave. So those are the ones that I'm going to focus on today. So, what is cyberbullying and how might it happen? Now, first off, it's really easy to worry about cyberbullying and the possibility that your child might be being picked on without you knowing. However, as parents, you'll be used to looking out for any signs that something's bothering your children, so chances are you'll pick up on something pretty quickly. Now, what's important is that you consider that bullying might be the problem. Now, there's no legal definition of bullying, but what we generally mean is behaviour that's sustained and intended to hurt somebody emotionally or physically. And of course, it's a really serious concern for parents. Now, data from a bullying charity called Ditch the Label in the UK suggests that up to a fifth of children experience it. Now, what's really important to know is that these figures come from children in secondary schools, and that's often where problems start. And that's one of the reasons why we're teaching Be Internet Legends in primary schools to prevent cyberbullying from happening in the first place. Now, when we're thinking about cyberbullying, it's really important to remember that the internet can amplify things, good and bad. So if a child is experiencing bullying, it's likely to include both online and offline elements. Now, it's equally important to remember that it's possible that the internet is helping them to cope with bullying. So maybe they use it to switch off, or they might have friends online who they game with. Now, for some children, online friendships can feel a lot easier than offline ones. Now, the most important thing is you approach this topic with a really open mind and an understanding of how complex it can be. So, what can you do if you are worried, and what can we all do to prevent it? Now, the first and most important thing to help your child do is something that we talk about a lot in Be Internet Legends, and that's be brave and ask for help. And this is often the hardest part for a child. Now, you'll already have some tips and tricks up your sleeve on how you get your children to open up to you. So if you have got any tried and tested techniques, please do pop them in the chat box. Now, we've got a few tips of our own that we'd like to share. Now, the first one is to tell them what you're seeing. So you might say, "You look really sad. Is there anything I can do to help?" Now, another technique is to try and distance the problem so you don't just focus on them, you talk about it in more general terms. So you might say, "I'm worried that there might be some bullying happening. Is this something that you've talked about in school at all?" Now, perhaps they're not being bullied, but they do have questions about it, or maybe they're worried for a friend. Now, another approach is to tackle the conversation when they don't feel under any pressure. Now, if your child's going to school, this could be on the drive or the walk to school, or maybe it could be while you're cooking your dinner or your tea together, or maybe while you're together playing games. Now, it's about giving them something else to focus on so the conversation doesn't feel so intense. Now, helping your child to be brave enough to ask for help can be really hard. So, one final tip is to use Be Internet Legends itself. Now, you could say, I've been reading all about Be Internet Legends and all the different pillars and parts of the Legends Code, and being brave and asking for help is my favourite. I really hope you'd come and talk to me if you were ever worried about anything. Now, if you have got any thoughts or ideas, please do pop them in the chat box. In fact, I'm going to have a little look in there. Fantastic. Yeah, bring your parents along to watch because your parents might find this really, really useful. Now, once you've opened up a conversation about bullying, now whether your child's in trouble for being the bully, or they're on the receiving end, or perhaps they do just have questions about it, what can you do? Well, the Legends Code gives children lots of things that they can do. Now, children often feel powerless if they're experiencing bullying or seeing it in their friendship groups. So it can be really powerful to work together to come up with a plan and remind them that there are always steps that they can take. So, what are these steps? Now let's start with some of the things that they will have learnt in the secure pillar of Be Internet Legends. Now we teach children about blocking and reporting. So using the block and report tools in apps and services will stop a bully from contacting their victims. Now people can't tell when they've been blocked or who's reported them. So it's really worth reminding your children that they can use these tools with confidence and they can share them with a friend if they're worried about somebody. Now they can also report the issue to other people. Now, your child's school will have an anti-bullying policy, so if something really troubling is happening, it's always worth involving your child's school. Now, of course, the practical steps are only part of the process when dealing with bullying. Now, the final pillar of the Legends Code, which is useful here, is Be Internet Kind. Now, this is where we talk about using the internet to share positive, happy, good information. So, really making your online world a place you want to be a part of. And this can be a really important way to prevent cyberbullying from happening. Now, for a child who is experiencing bullying, it can be really hard for them to find spaces that make them happy or where they feel like they can connect with friends safely. But this is something that you can help with. Now, it can be as simple as spending time together online, finding all the things they love and enjoy doing on the internet. Now, maybe this is listening to music together or watching silly cat videos. Helping them find their tribe and move away from people who are being unkind. Now, it can be tempting to tell children to stop using their favourite apps or platforms if they're experiencing cyberbullying, but this can often feel like a punishment. Now, finding other things that make them happy can be a much more effective way to go. And there are other ways to help your child have a positive experience online. Now, you probably already encourage your children not to give bullies an audience already. But it's worth explaining that some people act badly online to get attention, just like they do offline, and either way, they're more likely to stop if you ignore them. Now, you can remind your children of really simple rules like not liking posts that are unkind, even if the intention of that post was to be funny, and this can help them develop kinder online friendship groups. Now, it can be really tricky for children to manage their friendships online and off. Now, without facial expressions or changes in someone's voice, a message can be read in lots of different ways, and it can even be misunderstood. Now, even really solid friendship groups can have some bumpy moments. That's why we tell children how important it is to be kind online. We teach them to say things out loud before they post it and add emojis to their messages to make their tone extra clear. Now, these are just a few simple tips and techniques that might help your child's online life be a little bit more fun. If you do have any others, please do pop them in the chat box. I'll have a little look in there now. Oh, fab. Amazing. Thank you, Tim. Now, we do know that the internet is a really complicated place for a child to navigate, and bullying is just one of the tricky things that they might have to deal with. Now, maybe your child's experiencing it for themselves, or maybe they just want to support a friend, or perhaps you just want to know how it can be avoided. Now, whatever your concern is about cyberbullying, I really hope this session's been useful and giving you one or two things that'll help. And remember, if you do have a problem, get in touch with us because somebody will get back to you. Now, Tim is going to pop that email address in the chat box now. Be Internet Legends all about giving children the skills and behaviours they need so that problems can be avoided. And if they do happen, they'll know how to get help. And talking about Be Internet Legends, there is so much more of it out there. Now, if you found this useful, why not come to another one of our digital drop-ins? We're doing them all the way through the term, covering subjects from sharing carefully to protecting your personal information. And Tim's going to pop a link in the chat box for the full timetable. Please do spread the word as well. We've also got a really exciting resource for you. Now, Google, Parent Zone and Aardman are inviting you to embark on the Legends Family Adventure. Now, this is a 3-part animated series that follows a family of internauts on an adventure through Interland. Now, you can also take part in the Legends Family Challenge, which is an opportunity for you to test your online safety knowledge and win some really exciting prizes for your child's school. Parent Zone's Parent Hub also has loads of really fun free activities that families can do together. Now, there's something for every pillar of the Legends Code, from kindometers to password poetry. If you sign up to our newsletter, you'll be the first to hear of any new resources or any new activities, and Tim's popping the link in the chat box for you to sign up now. And finally, have you played Interland? Now, this is a fab online game filled with challenges based on the Legends Code. Now, children love it and they're really, really good at it too. Now, I'd recommend you playing Interland together with your child because it can really help open up some of the conversations and start some discussions about what we've been talking about today. Now, maybe you could have a bit of a competition in your household, see who can get that highest score. If you are playing though, watch out for Mindful Mountain. It's really, really tricky. Now, Tim has popped a link for that in the chat box as well. So that's it. That is everything from me today. Tim's going to pop a link in the chat box for a really short survey. It'll take about 20 to 30 seconds to fill out, and it just helps us know if this session's been useful for you, how we can make our digital drop-ins better in the future, and if there are any other topics you'd like us to cover. And don't hesitate to get in touch with us via Instagram or email. We absolutely love hearing from parents and children, and our details are on the screen now. Remember, there is no such thing as a bad question. Now, before I go, I'm just going to check the chat box. Fantastic. Yeah, Grace, have a go at Interland and make sure you watch the Legends Family Adventure as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, spread the word, tell your friends. We want to create we want everyone to become internet legends. That's goodbye from me. Bye.